Yo, how's it going, folks? It's me again, your boy Tabo, and this is another lesson on SVG for the web. Okay, so I'm going to continue discussing more on filters, and the filters for today are going to be turbulence and displacement. Now, this time I'm going to take a different approach in how I'm going to present this tutorial to you, because the last tutorial that I created, I found it to be a bit long and maybe even tedious. But I want to try a different method of presenting this information to you. So everything is prepared already, but I will just take you step by step over what I have done and what that means. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So now, as you can see here, I've got already a script that I prepared for you guys. And so I'm just going to zoom into it so that I can then take you through the different steps that I took. Okay, so now I'm also going to jump to the browser where everything is displayed, and then I will kind of be shifting between the two to make some changes to the values and the attributes, and then I will show you what it is doing, and then I will explain why it is doing what it is doing. Okay, so first of all, here's my turbulence filter. Okay, so like usually I created the filter tags, so this is where they start. Basically, let me just do it like this so that this can be clear. Okay, so everything that is between this filter, this is the turbulence, and so then these are the different values to it. Okay, and here I created 3 circles, and they're all using the turbulence filters in combination with the displacement, but I will come to the displacement later. And so you will see all the different effects of what they're doing. So there are different settings on each filter, and then you will just see the differences in what each attribute does. Okay, so the first one here, I've got a base frequency of 0.05 for all of them. It's pretty much the same. And then I've got a seed, and the seed is different. Okay, now I will illustrate how all of this is working together. Okay, so now this is my first rect, and as you can see, the progression here is different. Basically, all that what's creating this difference is the seed, right? They have a similar base frequency, but the seeding is different. So here we've got seed of 1, the value is 1, and then here is 10, and then here is 100. So basically, all this is doing, it's basically making it noisier. So the more seeding you increase, the more you increase the value of the seed, then the grainier it becomes. Okay, so this is basically all that it is doing. And so now we will come back to we'll check out what the base frequency does. So I'm going to change these values back, and so now we'll come to 0.5. Okay, so let's try 0.1. First of all, let's see what that does. See, so this is what the base frequency does. So this is the effect that you would get. And then this is 0.5. So let's make this 0.1. Okay. Okay, so these are the differences. Okay, so one thing that you should realize is that without the base frequency, then you can't actually see anything. If I turn this to 0, then nothing shows there. You see, there's nothing there to be displayed. So the lowest value you can give it is 0.01, and this is what you get. So you can see, you can kind of think of it as it scales. The lower the frequency is, then the bigger the pattern, and the higher the frequency is, the smaller the pattern and random, of course. And that is also a factor. So you can play around with these values to get different effects. So basically, this is how it works. Okay, with the turbulent filter, you have these values over here. Type, that just specifies the type of filter you're using, which is turbulence. Now, turbulence takes 2 types, which is turbulence and noise. But for some reason, I've tried noise, and it gives me an error. It says that it does not recognize, but in the documentation, it says that noise is another option. But we will stick to turbulence for now. So this is what you would state here. The value for type when you're using a turbulence always be turbulence. And then you've got your base frequency. Okay, you've seen what the base frequency does, and then you've got your seed. Okay, so another value that we have is num octaves. Okay, so num octaves. Okay, here we'll give it a value of 1. Okay, not much difference, right? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is give it a value of, okay, so now let's give it a value of 5. Okay, so this is what you get. As you can see, it's no longer so sharp. It's more, it feels like it's a bit more cloudy, that there's a bit of displacement. I do not have the word to describe it, but this is the kind of effect that you get. Okay, so now that we've seen what number of octaves 5 does, I'm gonna bring it down. Okay, just to see what's gonna happen. Okay, so 2 gives us that kind of effect, and we'll check out what 3 does. And 3 gives us that kind of effect. Let's see 4. You can see a little bit, and then we'll say 5. Okay, but what I've noticed is that from after 5, then when you increase the number of octaves, there isn't such a huge difference. And also be careful in how you use your number of octaves, because they require more processing power. So these are the differences that you can look out for. So we'll make this one 1, and then I'll come down here, and then I'll just basically paste it everywhere so that you can get like a feel for all the different types of octaves. Okay, so let's do it like that. So these are the kind of effects that we get. Okay, so now that we've got that covered, so now as you can see here, because I've also assigned this filter to all these different shapes. So now, as you can see, this is the effect that you get when you use the filter as it is. Even though these shapes have a filling, they have a color filling with the gradient. I can just show you what's happening there. I'll just kind of delete these guys. Okay, so this is originally what the shapes look like. Okay, but with the filter as it is, that is the turbulence filter. This is the kind of look that you get. Okay, so now in order to then create cool effects, because I don't know if you would want to use your filter just for this, but hey, who knows, maybe if you're creating, I don't know, germs or something like that, you could probably put this to use. Okay, so the next filter that I'm going to introduce is the displacement map. Okay, so now the displacement map works quite well with this, because then you can also see the really nice effects that you can create with it. Okay, I've got a displacement map here, and these are the attributes that our displacement map has, and that is scale. We've got N, you're already familiar with that, and N2. And then these are the special ones, the X channel selector and Y channel selector. Okay, and on average, these are the ones that you'll be using. You won't really be, well, these are the only ones, because we're working with 2D images, so the R and G will be basically what you'll be using most of the time. You can try Z as well. You get different effects from using it, but these are pretty standard. I'll just put it that way. Okay, so with the N attributes, I'm using the source graphic and I'm using the turbulence. So this is what will help to make the effect of the turbulence visible on the shape. Okay, because at the moment all you see is just that, but you don't actually see how it can affect the shape, and you can only do that with the displacement map. Okay, so whatever is happening here, all these values that we've been changing, the attributes, the frequency, if you want it to be applied to a shape, this is the way to go. Okay, so now I'm going to save this, and then we'll have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so with the values that we have already, this is what we've created. Now this is a pretty cool effect, I think, so you can play around with that. You can make it 10. Let's see what the scale of 10 gives us, it's a little closer to a normal round shape that you would get, and you can still then make changes to your base frequency. Let's try at 0.05. So that's what you get. You can say 0.1, and that's the kind of effects that you get. So this is how these two filters work together. When you apply them, then this is the kind of effect that you can get. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'll take it back to the original value, 0.05, and I will make the scale 10. And so what I'm gonna do then, because I have the same filters for basically all the other shapes, so now I'm just gonna bring them out, like uncomment them so that we can see them in effect. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn this so you can see, all the different filters have different attributes on them, well, different attribute settings. So these are the different settings that I've got. But yeah, for a displacement map, these are the basic values that you will get: your X channel selector, Y channel selector, and then you have your scale factor, okay, where you can then determine how much of the effect you want from your turbulence filter. Okay, so that's how that will work. And yeah, so pretty much, that's what these filters do. So these are the basic attributes that you will find. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add something special. And as you can see, I also created a gradient, to color my shapes here. So that's why it looks the way that it does, because I used the gradient to fill the shapes. And then what I did here is just to show you an example of what you can also do with these things, that I created an animation using the animate filter. And what I did is I animated the base frequency. So it starts from 0.04 and then goes all the way up to 1 and then comes back to 0.04. And then this runs for 10 seconds. And yes, the repeat count, it just plays indefinitely. So let's see what that does. Okay, so this is the effect that you can get. Now, if you will notice also, because of the values that I've set here, it goes up and then it goes back down. You can notice it by when it starts here, you see it's moving in that direction, and then soon it comes back. So now it's going back to the original value, which would be 0.04. Okay, so it goes from there to there, and then it comes back down. And then after that, after the 10 seconds is up, then it stops or starts again. So what I wanted to say about that is that, yeah, in order to create an animation that goes, there actually isn't any way, like I tried to create an animation which would play something like this but constantly without going back and forth, but this is not possible because it can only be animated from one value to another. So it would be ideal if you could just have an animation that just, where you kind of get this effect but you don't actually see the transition from back to forth or left to right, because this is well, I guess it's not so natural. If you're trying to, I don't know, create like Way from the sun, you don't want to see this jagged shifting from one type of animation to another. So that's the only thing that I can highlight about that. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. I think you can just like really create some nice animations with this. I mean, the higher you go, then it gets even more turbulent. As you can see, it get even more extreme. So it starts really big, and then it's even more extreme when you start from 0. Because then you kind of get to see this crazy wobbly effect, and then you start to see it, it's as if, it's, I don't know, I just find it really cool. So this is, the kind of stuff that you can do with this. But remember, be aware of your number of octaves, because that can take a lot of processing power. Okay, so that's that. And so, this is basically what I've prepared for you guys, so you can then go through this. This is how you create your your turbulence filter. This is how you would build it. Excluding that, this is just an extra, but this is pretty much how you would do it. You can look at this one instead, because here then you don't have all these other things going on. And just also clean it up here. So so this is what I have for you guys. So I hope that you can I hope that you've learned from this, because this is all experimental for me, but I would like to also come up with a more efficient method of teaching. I don't also want to spend a lot of time coding in front of you and all of these things. And yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of time has passed, and if I feel like I can explain this to you, I can prepare the code for you and then try to rather spend time explaining, but you have the reference, you can see the code and you can still copy it. Maybe this is a more efficient way to do my tutorials, because this is mainly what I would like to do, to really find out a good way of presenting all this information to you in a way that you will understand, and to have time to explain all of this. When I'm doing this while I'm coding, it seems to take a lot longer, but this is why this tutorial will be different, and probably other ones that I will be creating will be different too, because I'll be evolving, with my channel. The more tutorials I create, the more I learn of how to do this more efficiently. Okay, so yeah, it's been awesome. So all I can say is love and peace, my brothers and sisters. Till the next one, I'm out. If you thought this video was good and helpful, please press that like button. For any questions or input, just remember to leave a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and I'll keep more stuff coming your way.